Okay, good morning and welcome to Daily Tanya. This is the Shir for Wednesday, the 10th day of Shevat, the holy day, and the Yortzeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the day that the Rebbe assumed the leadership. What is interesting is, again, this lesson of today is connected with the Maimer, the Hasidic discourse that we learned in Basi Legani, that the Rebbe spoke on Yud Shvat, and he talks about that Hashem lowered himself through various contractions and reductions of the intense godly light, and to reduce this light to be able to create the low worlds all the way to the point that even the klippos are created. The klippos, the shells, those who oppose God. And as the Rebbe mentioned, this is like the Pharaoh, Paro Melech Mitzrayim, that it says his arrogance, saying, Liya oiri v'ani asisini, the river is mine and I made myself. So here that the Rebbe explains that this is a form of idolatry. Obviously there it's literally idolatry, but in essence, this concept, the idea of a person be able to think of himself as an independent entity, that's what Alter Rebbe is going to explain today in the Tanya, the similar thing. And we spoke about yesterday about the other gods. Now, the klippos are called the Elokim Acherim. So yesterday we gave an explanation. What does it mean, Elokim Acherim? Other gods. So the word Acherim, other, has a meaning of Achorayim, which means from the back. What does it mean? So we explained yesterday that there is the will of Hashem. There is the inner will, and there is the external will. The inner will, the real reason why what Hashem really, really wants is the existence of this world. So there should be Torah mitzvahs observance, that we should be following Hashem. This is the Torah mitzvah is the ultimate will of Hashem. In order to make this happen, Hashem created the whole entire vast world with all its creatures. But are those the real will of what he wants? No. Hashem, this is the external will. Hashem created them, just like the example we gave. When a person does something, let's say you go to work, you want to go to work, you want to sleep. But you wake up and you're going to work because you want to go to work. Why? Because you want to make money, because you want to earn a living, because they have a good quality life. So there is the external will. You're doing something, but that's not the inner will. So Elokim Acherim, other gods, means that they receive their life force from the external part, from the back part, Achorayim. And today the Alter Rebbe is going to introduce a second explanation. What does it mean, Elokim Acherim? That in essence, everything that considers itself as a separate entity is already as if they consider themselves a separate God. Because ultimately, if you think about it, when you realize that everything is created by God every single moment, so there is no self-identity. That is why the arrogance is equivalent to idol worship. Because if a person is arrogant, he feels himself important, himself as if he's self-existing, that is in a way denying that there is something above you. There is something that creates you every single moment, that Hashem is there all along. And this is the idea of the Elokim Acherim, the other gods. So let's see inside what the Alter Rebbe says. Says the Alter Rebbe, Ve'inei. Let's begin again with tzedakah. And we hear another pushka. We can improvise with a regular cup and put in tzedakah. Says the Alter Rebbe, Ve'inei rotzen elyon b'bchinas panim u'moker hachaim ha'mechayes kol ha'olamis. Now the supernal will of the quality of countenance meaning the inner will, the inner aspect of God's will, which is directed toward the ultimate object of God's desire. What's the ultimate object? The mitzvahs. This is the source of life which animates all worlds. That inner will is the drive, the engine that brings everything about to being. However, when it comes to the things that oppose Hashem, that Hashem contracted himself to create even things that oppose him, there they receive the nourishment from the back part. But since it is not bestowed on it is not bestowed on the sitra acha, on the other side at all, and even the hind part, the external part, what we said, the will that does come to the others, to the impurities, the hind part of the divine will is not actually clothed within it, but merely encompasses it from above. It doesn't enclose itself in the other side. It's only it's an effect, but in an encompassing way from above. That's why he says, therefore, it is the abode of death and impurity. We got to prevent us from them. Why? Because death is opposite of life. Life is godliness. Anything that is void of godliness is the place of death. It says, It says, because the minute measure of life, of light and life, that is derived and that is absorbed internally from the external aspect of divine holiness, is in a state of actual exile within it. So it does receive a little bit of light, but it's in a state of exile. As in the concept of the exile of the Shekhinah within the Klippos described earlier. So this is another reason why it's called other gods. Why the Klippos are termed Elokim Acherim. Besides the reason that we gave before. That other gods is because it received from the back part, Acherim from the word Achorai, but here it's called other gods. Why? Because it has godliness in it, but it denies it. Its own source of life is godliness, but because it denies it, the godliness in it is in a state of exile. It denies that it comes actually from Hashem. So yes, the Klippos, they will admit, perhaps, that there is a God. In general, talking about general terms, yes, believing God. Does it mean that every single thing what I do is God? No, I have my own. I'm my own person. Yes, God exists and God created, but I am my own person, and that is also a form of idolatry. For it constitutes actual idolatry and a denial of unity, of the unity of God, the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed being. Why? Because it does not admit that its own life comes from Hashem. For in as much as the light and life of holiness, meaning the internalized life force, are in a state of exile within the klippus. It does not surrender itself at all to the holiness of Hashem. On the contrary, it soars aloft like an eagle, saying, I am, and there is nothing besides me. Or, as in the statement of Pharaoh, that said that the river is mine, and I have made myself. So this is the arrogance that is equivalent to idolatry. That is why our sages of blessed memory said that arrogance is truly tantamount to idolatry. Why? Because the essence and root of idolatry is that it is regarded as an independent entity. Just thinking of them separate from the holiness of God. Idolatry does not imply an outright denial of God. You can have idolatry that recognizes the existence of God, but still feels that I am also somebody. As in the statement of the Gemara, says the Korulei Elokah de Elokaya. It says that the realm of Kalipa, the other side, the impure forces, they call him the God of gods. So that although they do not deny his supremacy, their statement nevertheless constitutes idolatry, because they consider themselves as a separate, important entity. Rather, because they consider themselves to be separate entities and independent beings. And thereby, they separate themselves from the holiness of Hashem. Since they do not efface themselves before Him, they don't nullify themselves before Hashem. They don't realize, they don't agree, they don't recognize the fact that they are really non-existent other than God's making them every moment. And as we said before, that the only way holiness could dwell is when there is something that allows it to dwell, that is nullified to Hashem. This is the famous Kotzker Rebbe once said. He once walked into the synagogue. People were sitting and learning Torah, and he asked a question. He threw a question out there. He says, "Where is God?" And obviously, the people were waiting to see what he says. And he said to them, "Avi melusta maran," in Yiddish. Wherever you allow God in, that's where He is. When you allow God to come in your existence, into your identity, into your daily life, to your daily activities, everything, you realize that everything and anything is not you, it's Hashem. This is self-nullification to God. And that is holiness. That is holy. Holy is nullified to Hashem. And that's where the God dwells. For this reason, the Zohar calls the klippos peaks of separation. The Zohar Kodesh. Meaning, they are as haughty as mountain peaks and are thus separated from Hashem. But this constitutes a denial of God's true unity. Since His unity implies that all is esteemed as nothing before Him, and that all is utterly nullified before Him and before His will. which animates them all and which constantly brings them into being out of nothingness. So this is where the Alter Rebbe concluded this explanation. He explained what is the unity of Hashem, that everything is Hashem. And we explained what is the idolatry. That idolatry is not only taking an idol and bowing down to it, but in essence, idolatry is also when you consider anything else as a separate entity other than God, that is also a form of idolatry. So in the next two chapters, the Alter Rebbe is going to further explain this idea, how this translates into the doing the Torah and mitzvahs. That by observing Torah, you're connecting to Hashem, being that this is the ultimate will of Hashem, and the other way around, if transgressing is also, even a regular transgression, is also a form of idolatry. And as a Jew that has a neshama that can never be separated from Hashem, doesn't want to be separated from Hashem, when you realize that, it helps you to uncover that hidden love that you have in your heart. So join us tomorrow with Hashem. All the best.